Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 101. Right? It's 101.
Yeah. That was just like no warning. Yeah. Like, hey, we're about to go. Just like, hey, we're live.
Just ripping the Band-Aid off.
Ready. Let's go.
Cracking the whip.
101 Dalmatians.
Yeah. Speaking of, did you watch Cruella? I haven't seen it yet. I hear it's
Cruella? No.
Yeah.
What's that? Is that a new film?
That's that Disney film, that origin story for Cruella from 101 Dalmatians.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
I haven't
seen it. Is it good? Like, is it supposed to be good?
Apparently, people are like, maybe this should have stayed dead or something. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
That's unfortunate. I did watch the Tomorrow War. Did you guys see that on Amazon?
I did. I saw that. Yeah.
No. What's that? It was about basically the setup is there's a war in the future and they time travel back in the past to pull soldiers because like the war went bad and everybody died on planet Earth, so they go back in time to pull soldiers back to the future.
Yeah,
to fight in a war against aliens.
Yep,
and it was a pretty good action movie. I felt like there was like this last act that didn't need to be there.
Oh, totally,
it
right?
Just kind of made the whole movie a tiny bit too long, but overall I thought it was pretty good. I like Chris Pratt a lot, so
exactly. Yeah, it was entertaining. You know, it was like, okay, this is like a summer entertaining kind of like, I'm glad I didn't pay money for it type of film. And it was definitely like three different movies slammed into each other. You know?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like
yeah,
the Starship Trooper.
It was
like,
good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was fun, but it wasn't great.
A little, it's just a hair too long.
Yeah, it was like over 2 hours. I was surprised. But I paused it in the middle.
Just cut off the last half hour and saved it for a sequel, you know?
Yeah. Actually, I think they're in discussions of a Tomorrow War too. I could have swore I saw
that. They kind of messed that up.
Hey, there's another future, man. Another timeline. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another tomorrow. That's right. I do like Chris Pratt though a lot. Ever since he was in Parks and Rec, and I thought he was funny in that. But once he showed up in Guardians of the Galaxy, like I kind of really got on board the Chris Pratt fan train.
Yeah, it transformed his career. It feels like.
Yeah,
because it's such a
pivotal
role.
Those abs just don't stop.
They don't stop, man. He didn't have those abs on Parks and Rec. Right?
Putting some serious work. No, he was supposed to be like these Hollywood programs. Right?
Yeah, he was a stoner, kind of a dropout type of thing, then became a superhero in the Marvel movies. Is that what Marvel does? Yeah, does it just like put you through a machine and all of a sudden you come out like ultra cut and ready to save the world?
There was an actor who just recently talked about the workout routine because when you get selected to be in the Marvel superhero movies, they like send their like fitness team
to
this
is a thing.
Your body into like a superhero body. I can't remember the actor's name, but he talked publicly about it and how he's like, he kind of felt bad because he's like, I don't really want to set unrealistic expectations because it takes an enormous amount of work for my body to have transformed into this, and then without the Marvel kind of fitness team on me, like I don't know that I can maintain this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna try.
Yeah, because they have to have nutritional guides. They have to have obviously fitness crew people to specialize in all that stuff, and they also need to monitor to make sure what's working, what isn't, needs to be like modified for the program. So I could see it being like a full-time crew, right?
They do also tend to like gloss over the whole. There's probably some juice that goes in that. There's this is the problem. Apple juice?
Yeah,
that's too much. Just like apple juice. Yeah. Just like This is the problem. Is the only one kind of like gripe with these ones is that they'll do these. I mean, the transformation is still like, even if someone takes steroids and stuff, it still requires a lot of work to get somewhere.
Right.
But the kind of morally sort of grey area about this, in fact, it's more than morally grey. It's just completely wrong. Is that they'll do this and then afterwards they'll go on Men's Health and they'll be like, "Oh, how did you get like this?" Now, well, I trained hard. I ate chicken, rice, and broccoli. It's like, and I trained hard. It's like, and how did your jaw muscles get so big? Exactly. And then if it was just for the movie, you'd be like, okay, cool, that's fine. But then a lot of the time, what happens afterwards, after the movie, they're like, right, I'm going to release the Chris Pratt Guardians of the Galaxy workout plan. You can be just like me. And it's like, can I? Can I really? What are you not telling me? And they're like, well, if you just eat chicken, rice, and broccoli and you train, you'll be like me. No, I won't, because you didn't tell me that you took the magic sauce that also made it possible.
The magic serum?
The magic serum. This is the problem with the fitness space, unfortunately, is that it's a lot of people who don't want people to know they're on something.
Oh, interesting.
Trying to sell you something with unrealistic expectations. So then everyone's like, oh, I can be just like Thor? No.
I'll be honest.
So
I actually
Eric's just saying is, if you want to get big, do steroids.
Yeah.
Well, no, not exactly. No. It's just that it would take most people a lot longer. There is also a degree of potential that you wouldn't be able to reach, but for most people, like, you can do it. But because for them it's crazy, right? It's like okay, cool, you've got a job, right? In 6 months, I need you to be like body ready to be filming. It's like, okay, cool. There is only one way it's gonna get here. Like, no matter. I mean, if they've got like a good base beneath them and they were suddenly able to like shred a load of fat, which you can do organically, then that's a different matter. But the kind of physique that they develop is like, that is
really. Is this like a underground type of thing that happens in the fitness world? Discussion about these guys, how fit they get. Yeah,
this was true with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He made all those movies where he was buff as hell, and then he was on the President's Council for Health, and then like later, like it comes out that he was on steroids the entire time.
Yeah. That's the thing about, but the thing about it is like it's interesting. It's an interesting kind of like topic, because there's nothing wrong with them, because inherently, like, if you're using them like to reach like a new sort of genetic potential, or like, oh, you've hit, say, your genetic ceiling, you want to go beyond it.
There's nothing wrong with
steroids.
The problem, the biggest problem with the use of them is the fact that most people that use them don't disclose that they use them, and that's the big problem. Because it's like, there's a lot of people. If someone out there is openly like, I'm using them, and then you're like, okay, cool, now it's fine because I understand that you're big, and although it requires still you have to require a ton of work. It can't be that you just take it and suddenly you wake up like Thor.
You got to put in the work. Yeah.
But the problem is a lot of those people, they want to create this image that they're natural. So they can sell you all their programs and be like, oh yeah, I just did this through hard work, and it's like, no, you didn't. And then that's what creates kind of dangerous situations, because a lot of people, they try to pursue this, they don't get the results, they get disheartened, and they're like, oh, it doesn't work for me. And then suddenly this cycle just perpetuates, and so that's one of the big problems in the fitness space.
It's because they're forgetting about the 3 a.m. wake up shake, protein shake that you got to hit.
Oh, you got to get that 3 a.m. wake up shake.
3 a.m. protein shake, and that's how you get the bulk.
Watts always calls it the shake and bake, or is she talking about something different? The wake and bake.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's funny though. I never think about steroids outside of athletes, like sports. So I never consider the fact that maybe a lot of these guys are using steroids for the movies, which makes perfect sense. You're trying to get an image.
Yeah.
But
especially the guys have gone through like huge transformations, right?
Yeah.
Like you see them in a movie and they're like rail skinny, and then you see them like a couple of years later in like a Marvel movie and they're like just buffed.
Yeah.
3 a.m. wake up shakes, man. That's it.
Yeah. The old shake and bake. Wake and bake.
You set your alarm, you chug a shake, back to bed, chicken, rice, broccoli.
And you wake up and you've got the abs.
Have you guys ever seen that movie about the New York Yankees, specifically Alex Rodriguez and the kind of steroid scandal down in Miami? It's a hilarious movie. It's on Netflix, and the whole thing is shot with child actors portraying the adults in the movie.
Okay.
It's so funny. It is really a good documentary. Like, it's a documentary, but to do like the reenactments of scenes, they use child actors, and because everybody in the movie is so moronic, like everybody's actions are so stupid, it just makes perfect sense to have kids doing it. It's a great movie. I wish I could remember the name of it.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of steroids, PlayStation State of Play.
Oh,
you talking about getting sponsored by steroids?
That's what you want to lead off with, huh?
Putting the state in State of Play. The state of it.
Well, Briar, you said that you basically fell asleep and can't remember anything about it. And Eric's, you said similar stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, and I actually can't remember what they should. Except for Sifu. Except for Sifu. Sifu looks great.
Sifu does look
good. But that's been pushed to next year.
Yeah.
That's the martial arts combat game, right?
by the guys that did Absolver, which I never actually played, but I heard really good things about that, like the way that they the combat stuff. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, I guess the main focus was they were showing Deathloop, wasn't it? And because they put it in the Deathloop category. So when it was State of Play and I saw it categorized on Twitch as Deathloop, and I was like, they're not going to show us much new stuff because they put it in this game's category. No disrespect to Deathloop, but I was like, this is not going to deliver.
No, but I've seen a lot of Deathloop. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to see more of Deathloop, to be honest. Like, I feel like they've been showing that game quite a bit for about a year.
Yeah.
I feel
it's another one of those games as well where... go on.
I was going to say, I feel like it was on the edge of the pandemic bubble type of, like, expansion where suddenly it got, like, extended because it wasn't going to get done in the pandemic time, you know?
Yeah,
makes sense.
The thing for me as well with like Deathloop is like it's another one of those like arcane games, like, and they're fantastic. You know, like the whole Dishonored stuff, like they are really really good at what they do. Like I don't massively play them myself, but they are. It's interesting because we were kind of speaking before about like, oh, do we watch like Let's Plays and stuff? I don't watch too many I don't really watch that kind of content, but I do like watching people play Dishonored, especially if they're really good players. But the thing with Deathloop is like, you know, I mean, I know again, no disrespect to the developers, obviously, you know, they built and made the game and stuff, but like the gameplay they showed during State of Play is often the typical sort of like gameplay they'll try and put together in these live streams where they slow everything down a little bit, they walk and talk and stuff. And it's like I get it, but like I just want to see Deathloop played by like a speedrunner so I can see him just like darting through and doing the crazy stuff. Because to me, I was a bit like, it looks kind of a bit boring, and it looks as much like just Dishonored with a different skin. I'm just like, you know.
Yeah, it's funny. They did that with Doom. I think it was one of the Dooms, maybe the most recent or Doom Eternal. I can't remember, but they brought in like someone who's insanely good. They're like, this is what Doom looks like at 120 FPS or whatever with the top player, and it was like
the grappling hook and everything.
Yeah, and it was like, this is amazing. I want to do this. You know, you're right.
Yeah,
it definitely made me want to play Doom immediately. I mean, I was already going to play Doom, but like seeing someone at the top of their game do incredible things with the whole suite of stuff available to you. Just made you want to do that. And you're right. They should do that.
That exact thing just happened to me with that Boomerang game. Have you guys seen that? I think it's just called Boomerang.
No.
It's an indie game where you play like with a boomerang and you throw the boomerang and you can teleport to wherever the boomerang is.
Oh, that sounds cool.
So I watched, like, I wasn't really interested because the first trailer I watched was kind of like that. It was slow and people were just kind of showing the mechanics off. The second trailer I saw was somebody actually doing it, like, in gameplay, and it looked much more interesting and got me into it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Interesting.
So with Deathloop, I will say that I think this actually made me more interested in what they showed, even though it was the hand-holding walk-through boring stuff.
Yeah,
it did actually make me more interested to play the game, because for a while I've kind of been like, yeah, Deathloop, maybe, we'll see. I'm not sure if I'm really feeling this. But then kind of going through and picking up different weapons and seeing the pace or like the methodicalness of what can happen by seeing a location. Also realizing it's very Dishonored. Like you see the DNA of Dishonored big time in those, like, what was it, 9 minutes that they showed. But it definitely made me more excited to actually play the game. Seeing that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is coming up. It's on my radar.
Yeah.
I think the idea that it has like a invading component where like there's obviously another human player that can take you out. Like that does sound quite cool. It's like one of those sort of things where I don't know whether it's my type of game specifically, but I would be interested to see people like play that out because you know you plan out like kind of that sort of methodical way of playing, and then suddenly like you can account for obviously all the NPCs, but you can't account for this human player, and that's just going to suddenly like screw with you massively. So could be cool. Interesting concept.
Definitely, yeah. That's what I'm seeing with it. Interesting concept. I'm looking forward to playing it.
Yeah. Did you guys see that Fist game with it's like the action side scroller with the rabbit?
You excited because it's a rabbit?
Oh yeah, that looks really cool.
Bit. I'll be honest.
You're like, this is probably Rabbit's game.
A little bit. But the game looks amazing. Like graphically, it looks really good. The side-scrolling action looks really good. Like it looks like you got a whole host of like special moves and stuff that you can use in combat. It looks like fun.
Well, and then you got like a whole mech that shows up.
Yeah.
Like there's rabbit mode, and you're some futuristic. You're like Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy, but like a rabbit, you know. And then yeah, it's cool side scroller type of stuff, kind of dark and gritty, and then this whole mech thing shows up in there. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like a bullet hell shooter portion to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for. I do like a good side scroller. It kind of looks almost like he's got like Doomfist Gauntlet from Overwatch and stuff. But yeah, that could be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like the visual style a lot. It definitely looks really really nice.
Yeah, that one's coming out in September, so that's at least this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, real quick, I want to go back to Sifu because we didn't talk about what they showed with the death mechanic that you're getting older every time you die.
Yeah,
that was new, right?
Yeah, and I was like, does this mean that maybe like a life is or a playthrough is you start out, young and you keep on dying, you keep on getting older and older until like you're just dead. Like you respawn
like
at 8
man, you can't fight anymore.
Yeah, you respawn at 99 years old and you can't fight and like that's game over, something like that.
like,
I also wonder, do like the bosses get older like as you get older?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if there's. I hadn't actually looked up. I wonder if there's actually any information on that and the on the mechanic. I'll have to have a look at it. But yeah, it's a really. I guess maybe it sort of like tries to tell the tale of like how these guys been sort of fighting for, because in a similar sort of way to like how Ip Man as the series of movies, like it kind of like he continues to fight throughout his lifestyle.
Right.
So I guess maybe it's sort of that way of trying to tell that. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to see mechanically, like, are we going to slow down? Are we going to like find that maybe reaction times or like rolling or something like that is slower the older you get? Like, that could be interesting.
You get like a bad back and
you're like,
your hit goes out every once in a while.
The bad back debuff in the middle of a fight. Where's the bathroom? I need to use the bathroom quick. Yeah, I'm excited about
it was
Sifu.
Kind of interesting how they actually changed the date that's releasing in the trailer too. Like in the trailer at the end, it says like 2021, and then that gets knocked down and 2022 comes down.
Nice.
That was cool.
That is, yeah.
I just pulled up a paragraph on it. So there's been like a little bit more of information on it. It said the main highlight was the aging mechanic. Developer Slowcap took the blog post to give some more context. They said, as the trailer shows, basically dying ages you up, and after each death in the game, you begin at your new age. But they said the aging is not indefinite. Eventually, once you get to a certain age and die, you will have to start over from the beginning. They said it's unclear if that means that you have to start from the very beginning of the game, similar to other roguelikes, or whether there are section breaks. But yeah, so it does seem like, I guess maybe in some regards, maybe that's almost like a backwards life system, right? It's like, if you play like a regular game, it's like you've got 4 lives, and then you keep going. So maybe it's just like their way of storytelling the life system, as opposed to just like you got back up. So yeah, I wonder where that point. But yeah, they didn't say, they said nothing more on like whether you get hindered or anything like that. So
cool. I'm excited about it. The game looks great, and I like this concept.
It gives me a lot of like vibes from. Did you guys ever play? Oh, what was it? How can I remember now? The martial arts game on 360 in Hong Kong. Oh, why can I not remember? I'm gonna kick myself now. The one there was supposed to be a sequel and it was cancelled. No. Like GTA, but with like martial arts.
Yeah, something dogs or
Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs. Yeah.
Sleeping Dogs was fantastic. Like honestly, Sleeping Dogs is
I enjoyed that.
Underrated game. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's so good, and it definitely like, although it's a very sort of different thing. We know that like the developer that made Absolver. Again, I haven't played it, but apparently the like from people that I know that played it, apparently like even though it didn't get too much attention, like the combat system was really solid in that game. So I trust their abilities to kind of do the combat. But you look at some of the takedowns you do, and it just reminds me of Sleeping Dogs. Like some of them just look brutal. And I'm just like, this, like you can just, even without playing it, watching the trailer, you can just feel the impact of some of those attacks. I'm like, I cannot wait. I love a good martial arts film. Like martial arts films is like some of my favorite genres. So like being able to just play one, I'm like, yep, that's me. And it's roguelike. I like my.
I'm kind of ready.
Yeah.
I'm kind of ready for a new combat system. Like I feel like the Dark Souls combat system is now the ubiquitous combat system across all like 3D games now.
It's been adopted quite a bit.
Everybody just adopted it, right? It's kind of like the Batman. When Batman came out, Batman Arkham Asylum came out,
Yeah.
like the combat system was so good that it just got every game put it in their game. You know, like, and now it's the same thing happened with kind of the Dark Souls thing. And I'm kind of ready for that evolution to happen again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. I would like there to be like a lot more. I know what you mean. But sort of like maybe I mean whether Sifu is the answer or whether it's something else, but something that has like a lot more kind of feedback in combat, like in just like hand to hand combat. Because I feel like you have like a lot of these games where they'll put a lot of weight on like, oh, if you're swinging like a big sword or like you're using like a gun or you're using things like that. But then you often find that like melee combat tends to be like an afterthought in a lot of games. You know, like even down to say like take Cyberpunk, it's like, oh, you can build your character however you want. Like I built to literally just do nothing but punch the entire game. Didn't need a gun. Could punch robots to death. But it didn't feel great, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, or you start into these games where they're like, oh yeah, you haven't got a weapon to begin with, and like initially, you do a little punch and it just feels a bit like rubbish. Like I feel like the evolution of that might be actually being, developing like a really really good melee combat system. So and then layer on top of it. Like I think that's what you need. It's like you want to have the underlying system where like, okay, I've dropped all my weapons. And hand-to-hand combat feels just as satisfying as I've picked up a big-ass greatsword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I want that fantasy of being in a martial arts movie, or like Extreme Dan said in chat, like the Daredevil corridor action scene, right? Remember in the first Daredevil series on Netflix, that action scene that was like
so good.
One long take of him just walking down this corridor and kicking everybody's ass. That would be an amazing feeling in a video game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, or like I mean, I guess Sifu is basically like the Raid, the video game.
Oh yeah. Nice. God, I gotta watch that movie again. That's such a good movie.
Yeah, I love. I think that's the thing as well that I like about like martial arts films as well. Like they're infinitely rewatchable because like just the fight scenes are always really cool. Whereas if you watch like a really heavily like story, driven movie and stuff, maybe you'll be like, well, I know what's coming next, so maybe I won't rewatch it next week. But like, I'll happily just watch. Someone throw hands in a corridor and like kick 25 guys down to the ground. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
They also announced Moss 2. I don't know if Moss Book 2. I don't know if that was. I had not heard that a sequel is in development. Maybe if you follow that studio closer, you might have known. Did you guys play the first one? That was a PSVR game.
I remember seeing it, but I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I remember recognizing like the little mouse, but outside of that, I never actually played it.
Yeah,
it was like a 3D action puzzler kind of thing, but it was in 3D. I feel like when Astrobot Adventures came to PSVR, they kind of set a new high bar for what we can do with a platform, like an action platforming game, with a 3D headset on. And I wonder if Moss will then kind of run with some of the innovation that they did, because I got to tell you, like that is an extremely unique way to play, like kind of a type of game that you're very familiar with, like that, like a Mario 3D style game, right?
Yeah.
But being able to be controlling the camera with your head is just kind of like it actually adds to the game quite a bit. Because then, like what Astrobot did is like a lot of times they'd hide like secrets like around a pillar, but you could kind of oh look, it's over there, or
that's cool,
stuff like that. Yeah.
I didn't even know Astrobot was a PSVR. That's crazy.
It was funny when I was watching the event live. And chat was like, "This game looks like a PS2 game." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's a PSVR game, so it's not going to look as good as like,
Is it coming out on PS4 as well?
Actually,
I would assume it's PS4.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah, it looks cool.
That's interesting. Yeah. I want to give it. I need to give it a try because I haven't like played too many VR games recently, but like I've. There's a certain degree that you'd associate with it. You're like, the typical first-person stuff. But I actually haven't experienced like a 3D platformer. I like that genre, but it'd be interesting to sort of see how it plays out. Because without actually experiencing it, to me, it would be a bit like, how would it work? But then,
you played the Astrobot on the PS5, right?
Yes, I love that. That was so good.
The Astrobot Adventures for the PSVR, it's it's very similar to that, but it's. I think it's one of the best VR games out there. And there's a bunch of good VR out there now.
Cool.
You guys want to talk about that Switch OLED?
Hold up.
Oh.
Hold up. I still want to talk about Death Stranding. because I really enjoyed Death Stranding when it first came out.
Okay.
And
the director's cut.
I know. Well, it's funny because like there's some interesting things that are being brought into it, like a whole new mission type of things, like more mechanics, shooting your like a catapult for the cargo, like little buddy system and all that, different weapons. Like it looks really cool as someone who, so from my perspective, really enjoying Death Stranding, seeing more stuff coming into the game definitely makes me interested to check it out. Like whatever this is.
You think you would play through this again?
I think on my own as like I'll just like chip away at it, because it's the type of game where if you enjoyed the overall experience of being in the world, doing the package deliveries, it's like a sim game, where you just like the experience of the simulation. And I could see myself wanting to jump back in for some of that. So that's cool. I'm actually excited and looking forward to that. I do think it's really weird, though. Kojima was like, it's not really a director's cut, because a director's cut implies things were cut from the game. And then he's like, don't think of it as a director's cut. Think of it as like, something else. It's like
a director's plus.
Why'd you call it a director's cut then? Like, huh?
I don't know. Director's cuts are often longer than the original, like, studio cut.
But that was his implication, was that like a studio cut means that things were cut from the game that they designed that should have been in there from the beginning, and or were cut because of some sort of financial overlord being like, this must happen for the XYZ. It's like, well, he owns the studio now. That's why he got away from Activision.
Is it going to be black and white and presented in 4:3 aspect ratio?
But the question is, I see what you're saying, but the question is, it's interesting. Is it Kojima just saying that like he doesn't want to call it a director's cut and therefore like Sony just named it that, or is it his way of trying to pretend that he didn't cut the content from the game and not just like I'm not sure what side of it is. I'm just like, is it him just sort of, because the typical thing is like, well, this should have been in here from launch. Why am I going to play again? So maybe he's trying to get away from the fact of like, I didn't cut it out. But there's also like the other angle, because you never know what the internal politics was for it, right? But there were a lot of those rumors around during development time. Like when he's first partnered with Sony, and then someone sort of said that like after a first year, they were like, oh yeah, can you show us the game? And he's like, a game? Like I think he thought he was like making a movie or something.
Yeah.
So maybe they kind of got to the point where Sony were like, yo, we need to put this game out because we've given you a lot of money. Like you got to hurry up. So maybe even though he runs a studio, maybe there was a certain degree of pressure that like, so it might not have been cut in the same way, but it might have been planned, but just I didn't have time
for the record. Also, I said Activision and it was Konami. I got Bungie mixed up in my brain when I said that.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, and maybe it is the PlayStation influence, like the PlayStation deal that he had cut. Maybe did have some sort of influence with that type of stuff. But I found it silly and strange. Like they come out calling it director's cut. Here's all these cool things that are coming in there. Then he's like, whoa, let's not actually call it director's cut. I mean, it's called director's cut, but it's not a director's cut. Director's cut implies this. Really think of it as like, some other thing,
Maybe he's rebelling now that he's deferring to Xbox. Maybe he's rebelling against Sony. Like, let me title my game when I wanted to. So
I wonder if he's just trying to lower expectations. Like, hey, don't get too crazy with your expectations because there's going to be a ton of shit in here.
I don't know. I feel like he wants to direct a movie, and he should just direct the movie already to get it out.
Oh, you think he wants to direct?
He needs to just. He needs to get it out of his system, so he knows. Like that's what's happening.
The thing as well is, I mean, like he's made some fantastic games with like his studios and stuff, but like honestly, his storytelling, I would be quite happy just to sit down and just watch it as a movie. Like Death Stranding, I'll be honest, like I tried, I really tried. Maybe it's because like if I wasn't creating content, maybe I would have got further, but like I enjoyed it when I was playing it, but I just didn't get hooked enough to be able to like pull me through the whole thing. I would quite happily just watch Death Stranding the movie because I really want to know the story. I really, really do. But I'm just like, I just don't want to deliver parcels.
Yeah, it's very compelling. It's a compelling world that they built, and it gets very confusing. And sometimes it's easier to connect the dots with it being shortened as opposed to having to do all those deliveries in the game because they extend the amount of time quite a bit. So, yeah, and that's actually coming out pretty quick. Isn't it like the September that they're dropping this director's cut?
I think so, yeah.
That's good.
It's funny because I feel like a lot of the stuff that was interesting about State of Play for me was stuff that they already announced or had been out before.
I think that's why I felt it was largely kind of a boring.
Yeah.
It's like they spent so much time on, was it Deathloop? Is that what it's called?
It was 9 minutes of gameplay for Deathloop.
Yeah, it's like I already seen so much of that game. Like it's already on my to buy list. Like I'm gonna buy it when it comes out. So I wasn't that, but I'm not like salivating over every piece of footage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a new Destiny trailer comes out, and I'm like, oh, okay, like what's gonna be in this?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like I'm not to that level of excitement for it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're hoping to get people to.
There was a couple other things too that I just don't know if they're going to be good. Like Armageddon looks interesting. Like it could be a fun co-op experience that you just mob around, shoot stuff. It could also just be like a completely forgettable experience as well. And I don't know. And also the Tribes of Midgard. Like I like those type of games. It looks like a Diablo but set in Viking lore. So that totally could be cool. But I've also played a lot of Diablo-esque games that are just bad.
Yeah,
I don't know,
but they have to be really good. I feel like,
yeah,
even some of the Diablo games aren't as good as I want them to be.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's true.
They take a few years to become full Diablo.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about it. That Switch.
All right, Switch OLED. I mean, nobody saw the name scheme first of all coming out of the gate because there are so many rumors about this thing. Right?
Nintendo Switch
like,
OLED.
Is there going to be a new Nintendo Switch? Is there going to be a Switch upgrade? Is it going to be the Switch 2? I think most people had kind of settled on there was going to be a new Switch this year. And most people were saying, especially it was Bloomberg News that was really heavily reporting that it was going to be upgraded hardware inside, right? It was going to have a faster processor, more graphics capabilities, a 4K capability of some sort. None of that came true. What we got was an OLED screen that's about 9/10 of an inch bigger than the current screen. We got better sound. We got a new kickstand and a new dock that takes away one of the USB ports, but adds in a LAN cable or a LAN port instead. Is there anything else notable there that I missed?
More money.
It comes in white.
And the colors.
As well as black.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's also $50 more.
Yeah.
It's a bargain. I pre-ordered it already.
Did you really? Are you gonna get one? Definitely.
Yep. Yeah. Like I'm a mug. Like Nintendo release something, I'm there. Like they can release they have released cardboard before, and I will purchase it. I'm like, this sounds great.
Technically a fact.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, well, Nintendo, you print it, I open my wallet. So, but the thing is, it's true. Like, I 100% wish it was actually a Switch Pro because it's like, they're especially considering, more and more recently, like I love the Switch. Like it is, I'm a Nintendo fanboy. Like I will just be a Nintendo apologist for the longest time, right? But like it's true that Nintendo Switch is struggling on some games, like things running recently. Monster Hunter Stories having some frame issues. Obviously, Monster Hunter Rise, like it was still ran pretty well, but there were some areas and stuff. It's definitely getting to that point where clearly the system would benefit from some sort of pro actual like performance upgrade. So the fact that it is just out with just a slightly better screen. I mean, the screen is nice. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved OLED screens. It was like fantastic on the Vita, so it'll be cool. And for most people,
8 years later, so OLEDs have even gotten better since then, right?
Exactly. True. Yeah. So it's going to be great, but it's just like, for most people, it's just like it isn't a compelling buy. Like, unless you're just like a ridiculous Nintendo fanboy, like you just want it for the sake of it. Like, it's a hard sell.
Yeah, if you're new, like, great. Get the OLED screen. Yeah. That's awesome. It's going to be a great experience for brand new people.
Yeah, for $50, definitely get the OLED.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer right there.
Yeah. And it comes with twice the amount of storage as the $300 version.
What's twice the amount equal?
64 gigs as opposed to 32 gigs of internal storage.
64.
It also has upgraded speakers, which I'm kind of looking forward to hearing because I think the speakers on the Nintendo Switch suck. And if you ever want to know what I mean, is just watch a YouTube video on your Nintendo Switch, and you're going to hear how bad they are. And why you might say, well, why would you watch a YouTube video on your Switch? Everything is getting played through the same speakers. This just demonstrates how bad it is. Like, watch one on your phone and then watch one on your Switch, like the same video, and you're going to see how superior like iPhone speakers have become over the Switch speakers are really tinny. So it'd be nice if they could upgrade those speakers a little bit.
To be fair, Apple puts in a lot of actual technology development towards trying to maximize what's possible from their speakers out of a phone. So there's kind of some voodoo magic that they're able to do with that tech that Nintendo clearly is not investing in. They're just like getting some speakers and putting them in there.
Yeah. I'd like it to be better sound, because I do play my Switch quite a bit in handheld mode with the sound on, like just like sitting on a couch or something. And it'd be nice if the sound was better, because it can be pretty tinny.
Yeah. It is interesting. I was very surprised about this. I was like, man, all this rumors, and then it's not even an internal upgrade. Like, isn't that Tegra chip 10 years old at this point that they use for the graphics?
Old.
Yeah,
that thing wasn't brand spanking new when the Switch came out in 2017.
Yeah, it's like it is due for some internals being upgraded. It really is. Like you said, like even Monster Hunter Stories is struggling. There's a lot of games that struggle to maintain a certain frame rate. That, I mean, they're great games. They're fun to play, clearly, but there is like, even at 720p, the handheld version, which, keep in mind, your OLED screen is going to be at 720p.
True.
I think someone raised an interesting point. They were like, whether it's one of those, it's almost like, because I could see what they could potentially do. You know, now that they've got the Switch Lite, they're releasing this new one. I could see maybe this one phasing out the standard old model. So then there would be a position where they sell Switch OLED or Switch Lite. But then someone raised an interesting point. They were like, oh, this to us smells more like Nintendo wanting to prep a Pro, but then given the current climate, can't get the chips right now. So they released the same system with that. So I wonder whether the OLED
I've heard that too, Eric, but I can't imagine that's true, because if you think about like how much planning and development it takes to make new hardware, like
true.
To switch gears in the middle of COVID and just say, okay, we're just gonna do half of a new hardware iteration, to me sounds like such a change of direction in something that takes so much engineering work, so much product design work, like just so much inertia goes into pushing out a new hardware launch. I think this was Nintendo's plan the whole time.
No, I mean it's true. Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to sort of change last minute. I was wondering whether the only way that might have worked is like if this ends up becoming the shell for the Pro, like if like you then fast forward to next year and then you have like the OLED model, then the OLED Pro, and then the Switch Lite. But
I was wondering about that actually. That's kind of what I was thinking, because it feels like the OG Switch would get phased out logically. They didn't say that, and they're still selling it, but it seems like this would just replace the bottom line Switch across the board.
A big price jump though, right? Because the Nintendo Switch Lite is $200, and then the OLED Switch is $350. That's a $150 price jump.
I feel like that's almost like their goal there, right? Because remember when they had like Nintendo, I can't remember the pricing, but remember like when you had like the Nintendo 3DS, and then they started to introduce like the 2DS for a while, and then they phased out the interim models. So you had like the higher and then you had the lower. So I always feel like they want to be like, oh, if you want a Switch that's cheap, you need to buy the Lite. Oh, you want to play your Switch in a dock? You need to buy this one. So I always feel like strategically it might be their way of, because at the moment it's kind of like, I like the Switch Lite, but I feel like it's almost like a hard sell, because the base Switch price isn't too bad. So it's like, oh, I could buy the Switch Lite or I could buy the base Switch. And all while that Switch exists, I feel like the compelling reason to buy an OLED isn't really there, like unless you want a slightly better screen, right? So I feel like they probably have to phase it out to incentivize people to buy that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the other thing too is if they do an actual Switch Pro, a Super Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it, what's the price going to be? If this thing is $350, like, are they going to be pricing a $500 Switch Pro?
That would be a tough sell.
You'd think, right? Then again, for you, Eric, you'd be immediately buying that.
I mean, I'll be there straight away, but I'll be like, oh,
it's confusing because, like,
that's a good question.
Like, from my perspective, it feels like they should have just made it the same price as the old Switch, and the old Switch should have been dropped to like $250 or something. So it was like,
that would have been nice.
Like Switch Lite, Switch OG, and then Switch OLED. And then it leaves a little bit of room for a Switch Pro in the future for people. But at this rate, I'm like, are they even, where is the upgrade for the Switch going to be internally, you know?
Yeah, maybe at that point, like if they do it into the Switch Pro and not just a Nintendo Switch 2, which I think the door is open for just like doing the Switch 2 at this point, right? Because we're 4 years into the generation. They've done the OLED screen. Like, where do you go with a Switch Pro that you don't just redesign and do a Switch 2?
I would hate for all that software to not be backwards compatible. Oh my god.
Oh, it's got to be backward compatible. Nintendo does a pretty good job with their handhelds of doing backward compatibility over the years.
Yeah, I feel like it's also going to be a few years because I mean, like they've got their Switch numbers are just astronomical right now. So like, if although they want to make a progression at some point, I feel like leaving behind something with Switch 2, like if they did it, it would be. I feel like if they did anything, it would be more in the vein of when they did what was it, the 3DS? What was it called? There was like the 3DS
XL,
the new
and all that, like
the new 3DS. There was a version of one that basically like developers could take advantage of it and make a game just for that model, which had like slightly better performance, but very few games actually did it.
The culture was a little different at that time, though. Now I feel like developers are probably more used to that with like multiple iterations of a console being available to players, like with the Pro and the X on the Xbox side. So if Nintendo could get somewhat parity, like caught back up a little bit to the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, so at least they could get those ports happening again. Because right now I feel like that gap is so big now that we're not going to see those ports unless they're like remote play kind of things.
Dude,
where
if we could get PS4 level quality, that'd be nice.
I would agree with that. I think that'd be stupendous for a handheld.
Yeah,
like I would really like that. That being said, I'm definitely buying a Switch Pro OLED. Switch Pro. I'm definitely buying a Switch OLED. Like I'm really looking forward to it. I love the OLED screen. The slightly bigger screen too is actually kind of a selling point. I am old. I do wear bifocals. Like that's a thing. So just a slightly bigger screen and it being OLED is great. And frankly, my Switch is just getting kind of beat up at this point. Like the you don't have to hit the buttons to slide the things in and out anymore. Yeah, this is a launch edition. The grill above the heat grate here. There's a bunch of stuff down in there that I tried to blow out, but it's just a little funky inside of there. It's just old, and it's for something that you can take with you and that is in your hands. And my kids used to use this one before I got them Switch Lights. So, there's just this level of abuse that happens to a portable thing like this.
Totally.
So I'm actually looking forward. I haven't bought another Switch for me since the launch one. So I'm actually looking forward to getting a new one.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Bought mine 3 months ago, damn it.
Yeah, I don't. My question is, should I wait? Should I buy like the white one, which I don't love the look of, to be honest?
Yeah, I'm not.
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah,
I don't. I like the dock. I like the white dock, but I don't love the look of it. Or should I wait for like a special edition on the OLED?
True. The only reason I went for the white one is because I don't normally like white consoles as well. But it's only because otherwise, just the regular black one looks basically like the launch edition, just with curves, because it's still got the same colored Joy-Cons with the black dock. And I was like, well, I might as well get something different anyway. And then I'm still going to take the Joy-Cons off and put my own Joy-Cons on anyway. So, yeah,
I'm gonna have the Hori Split Pad Pro on it anyway, probably.
Exactly. Yeah.
It would be nice if they actually changed the back of the console to be a different color, like they did with the Mario edition, where they changed that to be red.
Yeah. I'm excited for the kickstand. Not that I use that often, but at least when we can finally travel again, it always used to be I always used to bring this standalone metal fold-up stand that I could use because I just didn't trust whoever designed that kickstand. It was not their finest moment.
I do some controller reviews and stuff. Like I just did a review on this 8BitDo Pro 2. And in it, a lot of times I'll have the Switch on the kickstand in the video. And that's the only time I'll ever have the Switch on its kickstand. But I always mention, with the Hori Split Pad, the kickstand doesn't work with this because, and people in the comments are always like, "What? Who cares if the kickstand works? Nobody ever uses the kickstand." I'm like, well, I'm thinking of it because I use the kickstand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some people do.
Yeah.
I've used the kickstand on a plane. When I used to fly.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, kicking
that's
the
real price. That's why it's $50 more. I'm paying for a kickstand, not the OLED.
Yeah.
Not the USB port.
And an Ethernet port.
Yeah. I honestly,
new speakers. New speakers. I'm excited for the new speakers.
For me, I always use
I'm
headphones.
excited about the Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, I'm excited for the Ethernet port because I have one of my. That's why I don't mind the port, like losing the port, because I basically have one of them just for the extendable thing anyway. So at least it's tidy.
Hopefully, online play on the Switch will get a lot better because more people will plug in a LAN port because they don't have to go buy a USB LAN dongle instead of just, I'm just gonna hook it up on Wi-Fi.
True.
I think the online experience, like the average latency of average latency of Switch games is probably way worse than any other console, just because it doesn't ship with a LAN port.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
They should also bring. Speaking of latency, they should bring xCloud to Nintendo Switch. I know it's never going to happen because
it was heavily rumored there for a bit. It was like
it was for a while, yeah.
Microsoft started releasing games on the Switch, like Ori and the Blind Forest and Cuphead.
True.
And there was this rumor that xCloud is going to come to the Switch. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And like everybody who knows Nintendo's like, you're fucking crazy.
It would be perfect for that type of scenario, assuming the latency doesn't kill it, because like it's designed for that.
Yeah, I don't know how good is the Wi-Fi in the Switch. Like I always find that like it feels like when I'm downloading games, it feels slower than like I feel like it should be.
Yeah, it's tough to tell.
I don't play many online games.
It's tough to tell if that's like a Nintendo server problem or if it's the actual Switch Wi-Fi problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you can't judge your internet speed based on your PlayStation downloads.
Yeah.
Like
right.
not an accurate judge. I don't know. Tef, do you think you'll buy one? Do you think you'll get the OLED?
Nope. I am definitely not going to get this one anytime soon. I like I said, I bought a new Switch 3 months ago and it's great. And a new screen would be nice. Don't get me wrong, but it needs more of an upgrade than just the screen and the speakers and then an Ethernet port. Like, yeah, it needs like what we thought. There potentially being like DLSS or whatever.
DLSS.
For up-resing and maybe a slightly better chip inside to be more on parity with modern day stuff. So,
yeah. Although the reason we got the OLED is because you purchased your one 3 months ago. So you kind of have to purchase this one.
Yeah,
Well, you kind of have to purchase this one, so they then release the Pro, you see.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. The Pro's never coming out.
No, how can you do this? The gamers out there are waiting for you to make the purchase so they're ready.
By the way, back to the discussion of a Pro versus a Switch 2. I could totally see them doing that. Maybe like a Switch Roman numeral 2 or something, instead of calling it the Pro version, because historically they've kind of been away from anything like Pro, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, they've done console upgrades historically throughout their handheld forever. Like,
but they never call them Pros though.
Game Boy Color. No, but they probably won't call this Pro either. But like that's what we call it because we're just used to things being called the Pro because the PlayStation set that nomenclature. But Nintendo has been doing new 3DSs, Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advance SP, DS Lite, 3DS, 3DS XL. Like they've always kind of iterated on their hardware. It's kind of surprising that it's taking this long.
Work. They'll do what they did with the Wii, and there'll be two eyes. So it'll be the Switch. Yeah, it'll be like the two eyes to the Wii. It'll be great.
And as long as it's backward compatible with current Switch software, which I would expect it to be, I think that'd be pretty smart.
That's what I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would. What I'd like to see is the reason I want Switch 2 to happen more than Switch Pro is because I'd like to see developers be able to just target Switch 2. Like this game is just for Switch 2, not for Switch and Switch Pro.
Oh, okay.
And it looks slightly better on Switch Pro than it does on Switch. Kind of like the difference between PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 and 4 Pro, where 4 Pro, they could target that and it looked a little bit better. Maybe it ran at 4K instead of 1080p, but they were both running at 30 FPS. whereas the PS5 version, like it seems like a bigger step between.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I'm hoping for. Is a bigger step. Maybe the cartridge is a little bit different.
You know, evolution.
Yeah, but that's all just make believe anyway. That's just what's going on in my head. That has no basis in reality.
This console is selling insanely well, and they are definitely not going to suddenly pull the rug out from underneath it.
No. And they also have the weird history of having the Wii U, right? Which was such a flop. And the naming convention, I think what they were hoping was that, oh, you love the Wii, this is just more Wii. It's like a better version of the Wii, right? But it was so confusing to people because it didn't say Wii 2, it just said Wii U. Like, can I just buy the tablet and put it on my Wii? Like, people who weren't into gaming, like, heavily, didn't really... We're really confused by the Wii U, and that's got to be fresh in Nintendo's memory, right? Like,
true.
And that was a colossal fucking flop,
right? Well, and also this is Switch is the first time that they've combined both like portable and home console type of stuff. So that's why like we might see something like you were saying, like the DS, 3DS XL, like the various versions of those type of upgrades right there. That might start happening with this. Because they finally merged those and they've had that history with the mobile, but haven't done that on the console side. You know, historically they haven't been doing like intergeneration upgrades on consoles. So maybe they're going to start with the Switch. I don't know. But you are right. It would be nice if they could make a new one that developers could target, but I want the backwards compatibility to exist.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Or maybe this just becomes like the new iPhone model where they just released the new Switch 2022 and then the Switch 2025, right? And like they just stay with the platform and iterate on the hardware, and the software can take advantage of that or not, right? The confusing thing about that though is if you buy a game in 2025 but you still have launch hardware from 2017, do you know if it's still compatible, right? And that might be a situation that Nintendo just can't tolerate. Whereas like, you can definitely have software available for an iPhone that is not currently compatible with your iPhone. Or in fact, have software that you bought for your original iPhone that is no longer compatible, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Nintendo could allow something like that to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I even feel like their OS software isn't really like up to date. You know?
Yeah.
Like when you go into the Nintendo eShop, I feel like there's a lot of latency and just sluggishness.
That takes age. That whole eShop thing is just like it's getting. I swear, the more games they add, the worse it's getting because I go on there and I'm just like I scroll across something and I have to wait for ages. So that is quite something.
I don't have a huge amount of confidence in that side of things for the evolution of it. I feel I remember when I first got the Switch, I was thinking, well, it'd be nice when I see this operating system really like matured. I don't feel like it's ever happened.
No.
True. Yeah, I was surprised it's still so bare bones. I mean, like, you know, when you think about the 3DS, like even their OS, they used to have like themes and stuff you could buy and like icons and stuff. Like nothing like that on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, I would like themes on the Switch and stuff, but
right. Yeah, I felt like they
spend much time on the home screen, but
I felt like they ditched all that they had like evolved on the Wii U and the Wii and all that, and then like I was like, okay, yeah, they're going to do the same thing on the Switch. It's just going to take some time, and like, no.
Yeah. But what's on here is so good that I don't really miss any of that stuff. Like I don't miss the Weaver stuff. I don't.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't really care. Like I'm happy to have the classics, the NES classics and the Super NES classics. For what do we pay per year for that? Like $20 per year that you pay for the online service.
Yeah, I think it's right. Yeah, it's not much.
I wish they would add more titles to that, but I think with the resurgence of the popularity of retro games, I think what a lot of publishers who are still around are doing are just releasing their own like collections of their own games and not giving them to Nintendo to license, like Konami with the Castlevania collection and the the Contra collection, and who was it? Taito that just came out with one, a Taito arcade collection.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, that's the Switch OLED. I will not be buying it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I just don't know if I should buy a launch one or wait for a special edition. Because it is nice to have the special editions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there will probably be a special edition when Zelda comes out.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
So I have to buy that one.
See, like,
yeah.
what if they drop a Switch 2 for that?
True, that's a good point. Yeah.
When is the release date for the OLED, the Switch OLED?
It's like October. Right?
October sometime. Yeah, I can't remember the date. But October sometime. Yeah.
Okay, so that definitely lines up.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't release it because isn't that when Metroid Dread comes out? I'm surprised there wasn't like a Metroid version.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
I'd rather have a Metroid Prime. Yeah, true.
Oh, maybe they are saving it for. Why don't they do both? Why don't they do more special? They did so many special edition consoles for 3DS and for Game Boy. Like they used to do tons of them. Like there's more than you can count of those older handhelds. And
it's so true. Like almost
Switch.
Yeah.
Every new big game would like have one. It was just it's strange because even like when it first started coming out and they were releasing loads of different color like Joy-Cons and stuff, and like they even had the different Pro controllers. At first I was like, I mean, it's a massive money thing. I was like, this is great. Like I was buying all these different like controllers, and then they just stopped with the Pro controllers until Monster Hunter Rise came out. And even Joy-Cons, they slowed down for a while as well. I was just like, I mean, there's just money to be made here. I mean, it's they are massively overpriced. Well, I wouldn't say overpriced. I mean, I don't know what goes in them, but they are expensive. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're doing. Maybe they're just in between models and stuff. I guess if they want to kick off a new model as well, and you kicked off a new one with only a special edition, sometimes people don't like it. So
the Zelda one's coming out this month. Joy-Cons?
Skyward Sword?
Yes.
Yeah, they're coming out this month.
Friday. Joy-Cons, right?
Yeah, Friday.
Did they already get pre-ordered? Pre-orders already go.
It's been out for a while. Yeah.
Yes,
because they're coming out
a while ago.
month.
Yeah. I think they're sold out pretty much everywhere at the moment. Yeah.
The Joy-Cons specifically, like the two blue Joy-Cons. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't like using Joy-Cons, so I just have never gotten into collecting them because I don't actually like using them.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between on those. Yeah. I've currently been using this Backbone device.
Oh yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, it feels great too. Like I've got an iPhone 11 right here. I have it hooked into for anybody watching. For our listeners, I'm holding up the Backbone 1, and it's hooked into my phone, and it's really cool. Like it really makes me consider maybe if there's a game, if I have an option of playing it on the Switch or this, I would actually consider playing on the phone with this setup. Like the buttons and the triggers and all that, like they've done a really good job, and it feels very, very similar to a console experience with how they have it set up with the Xbone app, or Backbone, not Xbone.
Have you played Fortnite on it?
No, I downloaded Call of Duty though.
Review, make sure Fortnite's in the thumbnail.
You're right. First time playing Fortnite in years on the Backbone. Yeah, it's a cool device. I'm actually working on a review of it right now with xCloud, so that'll be
looking forward to seeing
in the future. Yeah, it's cool.
There's a bunch of those devices that I've never really gotten into them because, like, I tend to buy them and then like never use them. You know what I mean? But they also have traditionally sucked.
Well, yeah. So this one, it definitely feels good, and the biggest difference is it has a lightning port on the bottom that it connects to. So like you plug it in, and it like. There's no latency basically, and there's an additional port that you can plug in a lightning thing on the bottom right here. So you have both.
Oh, to charge your phone?
Yeah, exactly. So you can charge your phone and still play with it at the same time, and also you have a headphone jack. So like
iPhones separate from the lightning jack.
Yeah, there's a headphone jack right here and a lightning jack right here. So you can plug in headphones, and they have this whole party system, which I'm never going to use the party system to talk to people on, but there is that as well. So you can have like a whole.
So you could be charging your iPhone and have headphones plugged into it at the same time.
Yes, and
that's actually really nice.
Correct, and the experience is like basically no latency for games that are actually being played on the device itself. So like Call of Duty, Genshin Impact, I loaded up Minecraft and I was like, wow, this feels surprisingly good.
How's the D-pad?
D-pad's pretty good. It's not like yeah, it's like that Xbox one is so good that nothing compares.
That Xbox One is really good.
Yeah,
the new Xbox.
Nothing compares to the new Xbox one.
Series X controller. Like I have no idea where it went.
Sorry to hear that.
I wonder if one of the kids grabbed it from the living room.
They're like, this D-pad is the greatest thing ever. I'm stealing it.
You don't deserve this D-pad, old man.
Yeah, pretty cool. I also did like Xbox remote playing Destiny from my Series X on my Wi-Fi network directly to the phone, and it was pretty good latency. I'm surprised. That was all on Wi-Fi too. Not bad.
I've done that with other similar devices. Like I did it on a iPad with the Steam Link.
Yeah.
It worked. Yeah. Like you can play it that way if you needed to.
Yeah. This actually felt pretty good.
If I'm at home, I'd rather not play that way.
Totally.
But you could.
Yeah. I mean, if I was out and about and it was trying to connect to the internet to get the screen over, I'm sure it would be terrible.
Absolutely had to buy something from Xur today.
Exactly. Yeah. If you got to buy something from Xur right now before he goes away, it's plausible to do that.
Yeah. You know what would be a good YouTube video? Is somebody going flawless to Trials of Osiris on something like that.
Ooh. Yes.
That would make a good YouTube video.
Yeah.
That would be
a whole squad
impressive.
Of people
that
using Xbone.
Next one's going to cost you.
Backbone remote play, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, world first raid group. Everyone using it. The whole
on
squad.
Backbone?
Yeah.
This is a whole genre of this.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I'm going to watch that video, Tefty, because I'm interested.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'm working on it.
That.
Who knows when it'll be out? We'll see. Anything else to talk about today?
There was Monster Hunter Stories.
Oh yes.
Oh right.
But we could always. I mean, it's only just come out, so we can speak more about it next week. Because obviously, I don't want to kind of like dip into spoiler territory for most people. But I mean, yeah. But I mean, just like the top level is definitely like it's 100% worth checking out. Like the game is fantastic. There is like so much more content than I thought would be in the game. It's got like a big chunk of, especially considering, I mean, like, you know, not to kind of compare the two because they're very different games anyway, but like obviously Monster Hunter Rise, like fantastic game, I love it, but obviously it has also kind of got a little bit sort of dry on content at the moment, but like, and I know Stories only just come out, so it probably won't have the same lifespan as Rise, but they've put like a ton of endgame into it. I'd say I'll gloss past the actual specifics for now, and then we can kind of explore the territory next week, but like, yeah, it's really good. I mean, like, if it like, and I'm someone who typically doesn't like turn-based games. It's just not my genre. And there's a couple of exceptions for me, being like Pokemon, Advanced Wars, and stuff. And this one has just like clicked again. I mean, okay, I'm biased because I like Monster Hunter, so I powered through it. But yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's literally like a better Pokemon game. Let's be honest. I mean, you're going out catching monsters. There's a great degree of depth to the combat. Great story, you know, for what it is. I mean, it's not a super deep story. It's basically like it's a kid's game, right? But it's like, considering in the Monster Hunter universe, it's actually a really good story. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic game. Well worth checking out.
Nice. On a high level, what's the differences if you're coming from Monster Hunter Rise and you're unaware of what Stories 2 is? Like, what's the big difference? You know.
So primary difference, I mean, combat-wise, this is a turn-based game. Mm-hmm. So think of it like Pokemon Combat. It is, you also play as riders as opposed to hunters. So your focus here is on building kinship bonds with you encounter monsters, and then if you befriend a monster to join your team, it becomes a monstee. Basically, you explore that term. It's a bit of a rubbish term, but
damn cute. I hate it.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, you it works on the principle that you explore the world together. In a story, you go into like dens as you explore the world, and you can basically pick up eggs, and these eggs will hatch into monsters or monstees, and you then level them up to be in your team. When it comes into combat, the kind of top level of it is it works around standard sort of rock paper scissors format. Your monster will attack on its own automatically, but you can then select some moves to like control what it does. You then control your rider in combat. So like combat works out where it's like your monster and you fighting side by side. Plus, this game also has like battle buddies now, so you also have like someone else to join your team. So sometimes you'll have like 2 people on screen, 2 monsters on screen. So yeah, combat. So that's the main difference. Like Rise is an action game, real time, everything like that. Stories is JRPG in that respect, much like slower pace in that respect. It's good. They've also introduced like co-op expeditions, so you can like roam. You can't do the whole game co-op. You have to do specific missions co-op. But there's still like co-op aspects to it as well. So
cool.
It's good.
Yeah.
I watched I was interested in this game, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to pick it up. So I watched the first hour of a Let's Play on YouTube just to see, get a feel for it. And I got so hyped up by the beginning of it because one of my complaints about Rise was that there wasn't enough story for me that there was in World, where World really kind of got me going and got me excited to keep playing. Whereas Rise kind of just left me, it dropped me off and was like, okay, go hunt monsters.
That's fair
I kind of was like looking at the story. I was getting pretty excited for the story. And then they started calling things monsties in like really cute anime voices. I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. A whole game of this.
It's good. It gets good.
Oh man. Is that SideQuest episode number 101?
I think
so.
It is. SideQuest complete.
Bam.
Yeah.
Bing, bing. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it. Shout out to our Patreon members and our Twitch subs and everyone hanging out. You guys are awesome. Eric's, where can people find you?
You can find me over on YouTube at Scuf Gaming or Twitter at Eric's, where I will be doing more Monster Hunter Stories this week.
Sweet. Briar?
You can find me on YouTube. I'm just publishing a review of the 8x2 Pro 2 controller. This thing is like a first-party controller quality-wise, but it's got back buttons. It works with Switch, Windows PC, Android, iOS, like anything you could hook up a generic USB or Bluetooth controller to. This will work with, and I think it's a better controller than the Nintendo Pro controller.
Wow.
And it's cheaper, so it's well worth checking out. So the review will be going live. Today is Monday. It should be live pretty soon. I'm just waiting for it to render on YouTube.
Nice.
By the time the podcast goes out, it'll be live as well.
Cool. I'm looking forward to checking that out. And I'm Tefty Teft. You can talk to me at Teft on Twitter. And I've been doing some YouTube stuff as well and working on that Backbone review pretty soon. And some other things. We'll see. Thanks for watching, guys.
Stuff.
Things and stuff. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you later.